Hello, my little rain clouds. I've been thinking a little bit about language recently, and there's a particular word that I want to talk about. The word can't. Often people will say, I can't do this because I got to do that. We will respond to a request. So, hey, do you want to come to the movies? Or, hey, can you help me move house? And we'll say, I can't, I've got an assignment to do, or I can't, I promised that I'd help my uncle do something or other. And we can also say that to ourselves. And so I can't watch my favorite show because I got to go out and do this thing, or whatever. And I think that there are certainly situations where the word can't is appropriate. But most of the time, when we're using it in that context, the word can't doesn't really apply. I can't leap off a skyscraper and survive the fall. I can't run 6 miles in 20 seconds. Those are things I am literally unable to do. But often when we're using the word can't in those kinds of situations, I can't do this because I promised I'd do that, we actually can. I could elect not to go into work and instead go sightseeing with my friend. I could decide not to go and do the shopping, and instead I could watch my favorite TV show. I could elect not to keep my promise and help someone move, and instead do the thing that I really wanted to do, sleep in or whatever. I could do that, but I'm actually choosing not to. And I think that that's important to recognize, that there is a choice there. It may not be a desirable choice, but there is a choice. Because when we remove that choice, when we tell ourselves with language, this is not an option, then we're removing a sense of agency and power and control from ourselves. We're kind of making ourselves powerless, which is not a very nice way to feel. So we're limiting ourselves with the language that we use, and the language that we use affects the way that we think about things. And so when we use that sort of language, when we say, I can't do this, we are basically changing the way that we think about the world and about ourselves. There's a concept in psychology called the locus of control. And often we want to try and help people shift an external locus of control to an internal locus of control. So what that means is we want to change the way that people think about their lives and what controls their life and the course of their life. We want to shift it from an external locus of control where they viewed the world as controlling them, as other people controlling them, as them being kind of victims of circumstance or fate or whatever else, and shifting it to an internal one where they realize that they have the power and the ability to control the course of their life. They have some semblance of control over who they are and what they do and what sort of things happen. Obviously, not everything is under their control, but it's good to try and take a sense of agency and to tell yourself, I actually can change things if I don't like them. I'm the captain of my own ship, of my own destiny. I can decide what I do and don't want to do. And that's really important and really empowering. And so if we're telling ourselves, I can't do this because of this thing, then we are removing that power and shifting to a more external locus of control. I'm not able to do the thing I want because this other person expects something of me, or because of my job, or my study course, or whatever. And there's nothing inherently wrong in saying, I can't do this because there will be consequences. But I think it can be limiting, and it can shift our locus of control, and it can make us feel kind of victims of the world and of life. We feel kind of powerless and kind of put upon or burdened by things. And instead we could be saying something different and changing the way that we think about it so that we actually feel really good about ourselves. And so I want to suggest that we try to shift that language where possible, saying, I choose to do this because it's important to me. Yes, sleeping in would be nice, but I said that I would help someone move, and I choose to help them move. I choose to do that because it's important to me. It's important to me to keep my word. It's important to me to help my friend. It's important that I'm a good friend and that I bolster that relationship, etc. I could go to the movies instead of showing up to work, but I choose to go to work because it's important to me that I keep my job. I want to demonstrate a sense of integrity. I want to be able to have the money to afford things that I value. And presumably there's good stuff about work too, right? It's important to me to go to the hospital and save people's lives, or it's important that I help people find the thing that they need, or whatever it is that you do. It's important to me that I do the thing that I said I would, or the commitment that I made, or I meet the expectations that other people have, or that I have for myself. I choose to do my homework instead of playing video games because learning is important to me. I want to be able to do well at the chosen course of study. I want to learn things. I want to grow as a person. I want to practice skills. I want to prepare myself for a good future. I want to be disciplined. I want to be someone who works hard and applies themselves. Those sorts of things. Instead of, I gotta do this thing because of this person, or this thing in my life is just such a burden and a hassle and I resent it. Instead, we can say, you know what, I'm actually doing a really good thing because this is important to me. This matters because of reason 1, 2, and 3, and therefore the choice I'm making is a good one. And that can be very empowering. So being able to tell ourselves, I'm actually doing a good thing, rather than, what a hassle, makes us feel good. And it motivates us to then do that thing, so that we're not dragging our heels and going, fine, what else do I have to move before I can go home? Or instead going, yeah, okay, this is good, this is rewarding, this is fulfilling, this is important to me. So I think that's a good change to try and make. And it's not always going to be appropriate. So for instance, a lot of social engagements, a lot of expectations, a lot of offers and invitations to do things, there is a kind of social etiquette where you would not say, yes, thank you for inviting me to the movies, but I choose not to go. It probably comes off as a bit rude. So it's fair enough if you still need to say, sorry, I can't, I've got to do this instead. But I would say that you probably don't have to. You could probably say, sorry, but I've already promised my aunt that I would go and help her move house. And it's really important that I keep my word, and she doesn't have anyone else to help her. And so you're not saying, I can't do it, or I don't want to do it. You're just saying, this is a thing that I already have a commitment for, or there is a reason that I'm not going. And then hopefully people will intuit, oh, okay, so they're not coming because of that. But if you want to explicitly state, I'm sorry, I can't go, or whatever, that's fine, it's okay. But I would say that it's more important to shift that internal language, the language that you use when you talk to yourself, your thoughts, when you think about stuff. When you say, I can't go because of this thing, instead go, you know what? I choose to honor my commitment. I choose to do this thing that's important, whatever it is. Just instead of saying, I can't, say, I choose to. And I think that will end up being very empowering. I think that'll actually feel really good. And it's probably going to be a tough habit to break because we have decades of social programming saying, I can't do this, I can't do that. But just whenever you notice it, ask yourself, is that really an I can't, or is that an I choose not to? Because a lot of the time we actually can do stuff. We have many choices. They just may not be preferable choices because there might be some negative consequences that come up. If I don't go to work, I'm probably going to get fired. And I don't really want to do that. So I'm going to go to work. But I think that's a good rule of thumb. It's on a similar topic to the saying I want to instead of I should that I made a video about before. I think that kind of language is important. Looking at the language that we use when we think about things, and particularly in response to decision making, because motivation, I think, can be very dependent upon the language that we use that shapes our thoughts and the way that we view the tasks that we have to undertake. Whether they're obligations, whether they're choices, whether they're things that reward us, or whether they're penalties and burdens, it's important that we challenge those unhelpful ways of thinking and the language that we use in doing so. And so shifting the words that we use is really important. It's not a major shift. It's a pretty subtle change, but I think it changes the tone of that thought quite drastically. And it reminds us of why we're doing a thing, which is much more motivating than just saying, I've got to do this. Where possible, I think it's important to focus on the positive reasons, the reasons to do something, rather than the negative consequences that we're avoiding. They don't tend to work as well. Yeah, it can probably be somewhat motivating to say, I don't want to get fired, but I think it's probably more motivating to say, going to work's actually really important because of this and this and this. Money is a factor, but also my personal fulfillment, my relationships, the idea of being, part of a team and helping out the others and making other people's lives better and all of those sorts of things. I think that's really helpful. Maybe you find that helpful too. Let me know in the comments if you found that helpful. Okay, my little rainclats. Thanks for listening. Until next time. Bye-bye.